All of you. So, welcome to Vishnu IAS Academy. I am Shravan Kumar Sambrani, Faculty of Economy. So, today let us understand the GS3 question paper, or else we will be observing the question paper, or my first impression on the question paper today is, yes, like every year, UPSC this year have also proven itself to be most significant areas which are high impact areas only were touched, like agriculture. I usually say in the class, agriculture is important for mains, agriculture has been touched. I usually say inflation is important, inflation has been touched. So they are the key areas. In fact, fiscal policy is important, fiscal policy has been touched in this particular question paper. If you observe the question wise one by one, if you look at the first question says, examine the pattern and trend of public expenditure on social services in the post-reforms period. To what extent this has been consigns in achieving the objective of inclusive growth. Very, very important component, that is the inclusive growth. If you observe, like see, what is inclusive growth? Basically, if you observe the component of inclusive growth, it is including everyone in the country in the process of development. That is inclusive growth. Inclusive growth can happen by few parameters like economic development, eliminating regional disparities, with that financial inclusion, okay, with that employment inclusion, with that we will be also having some other component like agriculture inclusion, industrial inclusion, all those. They are the different components of inclusive growth. But what is asked? How has been the expenditure by the government? Government expenditure can be classified into two types. You know very well, that is the revenue and capital expenditure. So revenue expenditure is basically termed as to be the expenditure on welfare. So when we are doing the expenditure on welfare, that is for the upliftment of everyone. When is the period quoted here? Post 1991. So post 1991, whatever is the expenditure that is being done by the government on welfare, you can quote here in this particular question different programs, different schemes that are aiming at inclusive growth. For example, for industrial inclusiveness, we are coming up with the Mudra scheme. Okay, you can quote about it. How Mudra is basically bringing the inclusiveness in the country and uplifting the poorer sections in the country. Agriculture inclusion, most effective program, you can write about PM Kisan, or you can write about the KCC, Kisan Credit Card. With that, if you look at the inclusiveness of this thing like employment, you can basically quote about the MG Narega here. MG Narega is the most effective program launched post 1991 itself. Financial inclusion, you can write about Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, that is also post 1991. Okay, so like regional disparities, you can write about Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat. You can write about Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat. You can also quote about the Ekta Divas or something like that. Okay. Likewise, for different inclusive growth components, you will have to quote post 1991 what are the efforts brought and what is the successes of that particular initiative. In fact, the whole demand of the question is that only. Okay, so, if you look at this question once, examine the pattern and trend of public expenditure on social services in the post-reforms period in India. Right. To what extent this has led to the achieving of inclusive growth. So, in fact, I want you people, if you would have mentioned something about the 11th 5-year plan, that is even more better. The reason being, the concept of inclusive growth was basically brought during the 11th 5-year plan itself. Okay. If you observe the next question that is asked, what are the causes of persistent high food inflation in India? Comment on the effectiveness of the monetary policy of RBI to control this type of inflation. Inflation and its control, just understand. Inflation and its control. Basically, they have tried to touch the concept of the food inflation. What are the causes of food inflation? Basically, food is a trap here. Just observe. They are trying to ask you the causes of inflation. Forget about the food. Any kind of inflation will have the similar causes. Okay. So, what are the causes of inflation which you can mention in this particular question? You would have mentioned about climate change. Climate change is one of the important causes. Why the prices, production cost is increasing. Production cost when it will increase when there is a climate change. With that, input costs are high, such as raw material, etc. Labor are demanding more wages, with that productivity is declined, productivity is less or productivity is low. With that, you can also quote here about the causes of inflation, like it can be either from demand pull also, increase in the middle class population, meaning increase in the wages, meaning increase in the demand. When the salaries increases, when the wages increases, when the standard of living of a person increases, then naturally they will be demanding more food products, more quality food grains, so that it shall rise to the inflation also. And you can also quote about, in fact, all these are the factors of the cost push inflation. You would have quoted about this particular component, that is a cost push inflation as well. Okay, so these are the causes. But another component of the question asked is how RBI will control the inflation. How RBI is controlling the inflation. So you should have mentioned several tools of RBI which are aimed at controlling the inflation. Tools of RBI means what, ma? Tools of RBI, you know very well, CRR, SLR, repo rate, reverse repo rate, and to some extent you can also write about the LAF, liquidity adjustment facility. Okay, in fact if you don't mention this also no problem, but at least you would have mentioned about these all components which are the major factors of inflation, major factors which are responsible to control inflation by RBI. In fact, these are the monetary policy tools. These are the monetary policy tools, and it would be even more effective if you could have quoted the figures of these these four. What is the rate of repo rate? What is the reverse repo rate? What is the percentage of CRR to be maintained? What is the percentage of SLR to be maintained? In fact, the whole demand of the question, half part of the question is asking the reasons of inflation. Another half part of the question is asking about the how RBI will control the inflation. Right. Next. What are the factors responsible for the successful implementation of land reforms in some parts of the country? Yeah, I was stressing more about this particular chapter, Land Reforms and Land Acquisition Act 2013. In fact, land reform, I always say land reform has to be connected from two dimensions. One is your economy dimension also, one is your polity dimension also, and to some extent your security dimension also. Land reforms can be touched from three perspectives: economy, polity, and your security also. Why? Because in economy dimension, if for example, what is land reform? Land reform is nothing but the distribution of land to the landless. Distribution of land to the landless. In economy perspective, we will look at it like a welfare component. We will look at it like a welfare component. From security perspective, you would have connected this particular component with Naxalism. Naxalism. What is the motive of Naxalism? Naxalism means the fight for Naxalism is itself for Jal, Jangal, Jameen, meaning they fought for 1960s. It was started at Naxalbari village in West Bengal. The primary reason of fighting for Naxalism or the philosophy of Naxalism have started in India because of land reforms itself. Distribution of land to the landless. And polity point of view, how you will connect it with the schedule number 9 of the constitution. Land reforms and the laws that are made by central and state government without the interference of judiciary. That is what schedule 9 speaks about. You would have connected this particular component. How land reforms have been successful in few states. What are the states you will mention here? The states you are going to mention here about the case study of West Bengal and the case study of Kerala. You will mention about these two case studies. How are they successful? In fact, I'll let you know, recently Sitaram Yechury have passed away. Sitaram Yechury, a prominent leader in CPI, Communist Party of India. He is the Secretary General also of CPI. He always says land reforms would be successful in those states where there is a prevalence of Communist Party. Okay, but this openly you should not write or you should not mention about it. In fact, land reforms was the agenda of the country post India's independence. Okay, post India's independence, because we tried to abolish what? Zamindari system. This Zamindari system was abolished through schedule number 9. And to give a very clear cut shape or the clear-cut picture to the land reforms in India. In fact, many states are actually coming up with several programs of distribution of land to the landless. In fact, you can mention about the state of Telangana. You can mention about the state of Andhra Pradesh. In Telangana, the former Chief Minister KCR have announced that we will be distributing 3 acres of land to the Dalit. In Andhra Pradesh, in fact, there also the former Chief Minister Y.S. Jagannath Reddy, he also started distributing of land to the landless in the form of pattas, in the form of housing pattas altogether. In the state of Maharashtra also, very recently Eknath Shinde have announced that we are going to distribute the tribal land to the tribals itself. Eknath Shinde have brought this concept. Kerala, every time Piniyar Vijayan always says that we are going to come up with the land reforms to everyone, 100% we are going to achieve the land reform, but though it is not the effective mechanism, it is not to be implemented at the earliest. 100% land reform can't be done by any state, because you know very well it should be connected with your geography also. You can write a very beautiful quotation, land cannot be increased but the population is increasing. Okay, so likewise I want you people to connect this topic, but Land Acquisition Act, in fact the Land Acquisition Act 2013 also aims to, if we are acquiring land for the economic progress, we should give them rehabilitation and resettlement. Rehabilitation and resettlement should be provided in the form of land. Land తీసుకుంటే land should be allotted. If you take the building, building should be constructed. That is the provision of Land Acquisition Act, which you could have mentioned. In fact, this component we have discussed in our regular classes also in detail. Okay, millets have been in news again and again. 2023 is celebrated as the International Year of Millets. How are we promoting millets? And in agriculture sector, you would have studied this particular topic in detail also, like Rajasthan. In fact, the cultivation of millets have started from Rajasthan itself. And post-COVID, the demand for millets have increased. Post-COVID, the demand for food security through, see, we have initially targeted to achieve the food security 2013. But after 2021, in fact post-COVID, we did not want food security, we want nutritional security. So what are the successful mechanisms that are being brought? How, what kind of millets are being distributed through PDS, you could have mentioned. What kind of programs are launched by the government of India in order to protect the millets, like you could have mentioned about the MSP, minimum support price, that is a program by the that is the announcement by the government. You could have mentioned about the Poshan Abhiyan, how we are trying to increase the standard of health in the country. Ilanti chinna chinna components. In fact, it is a small question asked for 150 words itself. Okay, next. What is the present scenario of intellectual property rights with respect to life material? In fact, it is a science and technology related question. IPR, intellectual property and patent rights related, this question was asked. Okay, what is the technology being employed for electronic toll collection on highways? What are the advantages? Recently, a new toll system has been developed. This is also SNT or RID kind of a technology is being used. You can relate with your science and tech. Industrial pollution, okay, it is related to your environmental type of thing. Okay, what role do environmental NGOs play, right? This is also environment. Narco-terrorism. Narco-terrorism is something related to your security, internal security related aspect, narco-terrorism. It has been in news again and again. So, when we speak about the narco-terrorism, terrorism always will be a very important topic, clear, be it in internal security or be it in international relation. It's a, looking at the questions, I cannot see like UPSC is portraying to be an unpredictable service commission. Mostly what the people would have studied, everything would have been replicated, because they are the very general topics that are being touched, at least in the GS3 perspective I am speaking about. I don't know about other GS papers, but GS3 rightly into the dimension of what exactly the questions will be there. Okay. Merits and demerits of labor codes in the context of labor market reforms in India. Very, 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 very expected this year. 2019-20, we have got like more than 200 labor laws. We have simplified the 200 plus labor laws into 4 labor laws actually. Code on social security, code on occupational safety, code on minimum wages. Likewise, we have brought 4 labor laws, and I have been speaking about this all provisions on labor laws in detail when we have discussed about the sustainable development and every other concept. 4 labor laws In fact, we have simplified. What are the motives of labor laws? To announce the minimum wages. We are going to seal the wages, sealing on the wages. Sealing on the wages, they cannot, a company or an industry or a firm cannot exploit the worker beyond a particular limit. Okay, number of hours are being fixed, working hours. Okay, OT, overtime benefits are being mentioned, overtime benefits. Okay, occupational safety is mentioned, occupational safety. There are some points mentioned about the gig workers also. Gig workers or platform workers which are there in news right now, gig workers, how the government is trying to protect them. With that, there is also a mention about this thing like night shift and day shift allowances, night shift and day shift kind of allowances were also being mentioned. With that, there was also a mention about one important component, that is protest by the workers, when the workers can call for a strike, when the workers can call for a protest. All these provisions are being mentioned in the 4 labor laws that are being mentioned, and it is the most expected. Since last year also I was saying, students, that this is the most expected, but this year this came into implementation. Okay. Right. What is the need of expanding the regional air connectivity in India? In this context, discuss the government's UDAN and its achievements. If you look at this particular program, in infrastructure, this is the most important component. In infrastructure topic, this is the most important component. Like airway is one of the most important infrastructure, like airways. You should have quoted about AI, Airport Authority of India. You would have quoted about DGCA, Director General of Civil Aviation. Ee rendu components ni base cheskoni how airport infrastructure is being brought. But the question is asked, how airport infrastructure is developed with the scheme called UDAN. You would have mentioned about that scheme UDAN, Uday Desh Ke Aam Nagarik. UDAN, Uday Desh Ke Aam Nagarik. Uday Desh Ke Aam Nagarik. Okay. So when we speak about UDAN, just understand, UDAN is such a component where we are going to fix the air travel price maximum at rupees 2500. Maximum travel price is 2500 for a distance of around 300 kilometer. Ante ee distance varaku, if anyone is traveling, the maximum price, ante to make the flight travel affordable to everyone. That is the motive of UDAN. At the same time, we are also going to construct the airports, new airports at all the major cities in the country. New airports would be constructed at all the major cities in the country. That is to improve the connectivity. And this new airports scheme is called RCS, Regional Connectivity Scheme, we call RCS, ante Regional Connectivity Scheme. How many airlines are working in India right now? What is the statistics related to that? What kind of infrastructure we are following? Is it a passenger fee model? Is it a passenger fee model? Or is it a PPP model, public-private partnership model? These all points you would have mentioned there. Next. Okay, challenges faced by Indian irrigation system in the recent times. State the measures taken by government for the efficient irrigation management. Most expected question, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Per drop, more crop, har khet ko pani. This is the slogan of Krishi Sinchai Yojana. And how many acres of land has been into the irrigation? Certain statistics which I would have quoted, those statistics you would have mentioned with the types of irrigation. Is it a drip irrigation? Is it a sprinkle irrigation? Is it the borewell irrigation? Is it well irrigation or tank irrigation? Likewise, there are irrigation and different types are there. This you would have connected with your geography also. In geography, you will study about the irrigation types, and in economy, you will study only the issues that are related, the new projects which are being constructed. Like you could have quoted about the effective implementation of the Hirakud Dam, the Modar Valley project, Polavaram project, Kaleshwaram lift irrigation project, or Kaveri river integration. Likewise, you would have quoted about different river systems in India. How are they helping in bringing the irrigation, bringing the more land under irrigation, right. Next, elucidate the importance of buffer stock in stabilizing the agriculture prices in India. What are the challenges in, right, buffer stock. Buffer stock, you would have heard this particular concept in FCI, Food Corporation of India. Food Corporation of India is the agency which is responsible for the procurement of stock. And whatever the stock is there, that is called the buffer stock. What is the benefit of this buffer stock? This stock is stored cheyadam valla, in future if any crisis occur, that particular crisis shall be distributed at the subsidized prices to the citizen. Subsidized prices means you can quote about PDS, public distribution system. You could have quoted about ICDS, Integrated Child Development Scheme. You could have quoted about midday meal scheme also. You could have quoted about this thing like MA program also, Mother's Absolute Affection. They're all the buffer stock which is delivering to the public at the subsidized prices. So buffer stock is basically aimed at improving the food security of the country. Okay, nearly 83 crore people, nearly 83 crore population in India are covered under NFSA 2013, National Food Security Act 2013. And what are the challenges in achieving food security? Challenges in buffer stock: no availability of cold storages, okay, infrastructure issues, you can quote weighing and measurement issues, okay. You could have mentioned about leakages of stock. You could have mentioned about this thing also, like transportation issues. You could have mentioned about concerned ministries, okay. Ministry wise there are certain difficulties, like Agriculture Ministry is also concerned, Ministry of Road Transportation is also concerned, Ministry of Railways is also concerned. So there is no common boss for the FCI, or no common agency ministry responsible, because some of the other functions are integrated with every other ministry. That kind of a challenge also is being faced. So that is the question asked. In fact, elucidate the importance of buffer stock, right? And in fact, buffer stock will help the farmers also, because how the FCI will procure? By paying the MSP. Farmers no need to go to any private player to sell the produce. By directly getting the MSP, farmers will be selling the produce. The world is facing an acute shortage of clean and safe fresh water. What are the alternative technologies which are involved can solve? This is environment related question. What are asteroids? How real is the threat of them causing asteroids is also, I think, a scientific related question. Disaster resilience, disaster management, flooding, it's also environment. India has a long international relation question. India has a long and troubled border with China and Pakistan, fraught with the contentious issues. Lots of issues are there, like India, Pakistan and India, China, they are the two major neighbor countries with which we are sharing the difficulties in our international relations. That easy question was asked. Social media and encrypting messaging services pose a serious security challenge. What measures have been adopted? This is also related to your technology part. So economy related questions, few questions were asked today, but mostly as agriculture is the favorite area of UPSC, agriculture has been touched more in the today's question paper. I hope you people would have enjoyed writing the answers to this particular question paper today. In fact, I'll bring a model answer video also for every question. What should have been the model answer, I'll bring at the earliest in front of all of you. Thanks all of you. Keep watching Vishnu IAS. Jai Hind.